The Upanishads say, if you think you understand Brahman, you do not understand. But if you know that you do not understand, then you truly understand. Because the Godhead, the eternal self, is never an object of its own knowledge. Just as a knife can't cut itself, fire doesn't burn itself, and light doesn't illuminate itself, you cannot grasp yourself. And if you think you've done it, you've only grasped a reflection. This is the great mystery. The thing that you're looking for is what's looking so naturally you can't find it. You can't pin it down. Fire doesn't burn itself. Light doesn't shine on itself. You can't see your own eyes without a mirror. So you say, I don't know. And in that, something deeper listens. And so, in that moment of truly not knowing of, letting go of all your mental grasping you are, in a sense, finally at peace with the mystery. And in that, curiously enough, something deeper listens. Here's the strange thing. When you stop holding on so tightly, you begin to feel stronger. Most of us are constantly using energy to manage everything, to plan, to worry, to make sure things go exactly our way. And it's exhausting. We're trying to control life, as if we're running the whole show. But the moment you stop clinging, stop defending, stop trying to force things, you free up that energy, and it doesn't disappear. It returns to you. That's the paradox. You gain real power by letting go of control. Not by giving up, but by trusting the Tao, the way of things. It flows. It moves to the left and to the right. It supports all things without needing to dominate them. And when it accomplishes something, it doesn't take credit. It doesn't boast. It just moves on. That's the kind of power that doesn't need to prove itself. The more you trust, the more power you actually have. Not over others, but with life. And so strangely, when you let go, you don't lose anything. You gain alignment. You flow with something much larger, something that's been holding you the entire time. Letting go isn't weakness. It's intelligence. The way to become one with the universe is not by trying to control it. That only disturbs it, makes it feel like something outside you, something you have to conquer. And the more you try to conquer it, the more it slips away. You make it feel separate, foreign, something to be managed. But when you begin to trust it like you would trust another person, something shifts. You say, let's see what you're going to do. And in doing that, you're not just speaking to the universe out there, you're speaking to yourself. Because ultimately, you don't know where your decisions come from. They just appear. Like hiccups. They bubble up from the depths. This is the strange thing about trust. It looks like a risk, but it turns out to be a return to how things already work. You trust your heart to beat. You trust your nervous system to wake you in the morning. You can even say, I want to wake up at 6 o'clock. And more often than not you do. As if something in you knows, even though you don't. That's the principle. Let the world move as it does and you begin to move with it. When we decide, we worry. Did I think about it long enough? Did I take in all the facts? Did I overlook something? But the truth is, you never can consider all the data. In any situation, the number of variables is infinite. You think you've worked it all out, but you haven't. So what you do is go through the motions. You weigh this and that, and then when the moment comes, you make a snap judgment. It pops out, almost by itself. Sometimes you get the vague outline of things. Sometimes you make a good decision on rational grounds. But more often than not, you forget all the variables that could have gone wrong. And somehow, it works. That's the mystery. The problem isn't making decisions. The problem is thinking you can make them perfectly. Like the man sorting potatoes. Chopping wood was fine. Fixing fences was fine. But sorting potatoes into pile, sell, seed, discard was too much. Decision after decision after decision. That's the weight we carry. And it's unnecessary. The more you try to decide with total certainty, the more anxious you become. But when you let go a little, something deeper takes over. Something that already knows. Very great business people are not the ones who try to control every detail. They are the ones who delegate authority, who trust others to act. And in doing so, they create something that works like a living organism, not a machine, not a dictatorship, a body. Because life itself functions this way. Constant delegation, trust at every level. Cells don't report back to central headquarters. They act. And in acting, they cooperate in a system far more intelligent than any one part could understand. Evolution itself depends on this. Constant adaptation, mutual participation, kind of unconscious wisdom. This is why democracy is superior to monarchy. Not because it's always right, but because it allows for that synergizing intelligence of a complex system made of individuals who don't fully know what's going on, but who together form something that works. That's the pattern of nature. That's how intelligence spreads not by force, but by participation. When you let go of control and trust others, you're not weakening your position. You're entering into the same dynamic that drives life forward. To trust is not to be naive. It is to be aligned with the very structure of existence. When you move with the flow, life begins to cooperate. There's a story of the Kon-Tiki expedition. A man builds a raft from balsa wood to sail from South America across the Pacific. It's an experiment, a leap of faith. He sets it in motion and soon discovers all sorts of unexpected things working in his favor. When the wood got wet, it swelled and the ropes bit into it, locking everything tightly. He hadn't planned that. Flying fish landed on the deck each morning, breakfast delivered. He had touched the key. He wasn't struggling against nature. He wasn't trying to force anything. He was cooperating with the larger movement, aligning with something older, deeper, and more intelligent than any personal plan. And the astonishing thing was how many things went right. How much unseen help arrived. Because when you stop resisting the current, when you stop trying to dominate the ocean, you find it already knows where to take you. You're not in charge. You're part of something vast. And the more you let that be true, the more everything starts to work. Not always the way you expect it, but the way it needs to. It has become practical politics now, not just virtue, not self-sacrifice, but necessity to let go of control. In earlier times, people spoke of utopia as a dream, but now it is urgent. Because if we don't learn how to enjoy ourselves, we will destroy ourselves. In an age of leisure, people must know how to be at ease. If not, we'll smash the whole future of the human race in boredom, anxiety, and endless bickering. It's happening already. Everyone picking a new scapegoat, each side blaming the other, and yet none of it is relevant. Because the root isn't left or right, good or bad, us or them. The root is fear. The fear of letting go. The fear of trusting what we don't control. And so the paradox, you must learn to enjoy yourself. You must risk following what brings life. Not in a selfish sense, but because that's how intelligence works. That's how it always has. You don't need to fight to be good. You need to relax enough to remember what you are. If we don't learn how to enjoy life with depth and sincerity, we'll go on tearing each other up at each side, convinced it's saving the world. So we come back to the question, what do I want? And the honest answer, for most of us, is I don't know. And that not knowing, if you stay with it, is the beginning of something extraordinary. Because when you really stop to ask, not from the surface of the mind, but from the depths, the answers you once thought were true begin to fade. First, you name things. I think I'd like this or that. I want comfort, I want love, I want security. And those may satisfy you for a while. But then you look again, and you say, no, I don't think that's quite it either. And finally you arrive at silence. Why don't you know what you want? 2 reasons. 1, you already have it. 2, you can never truly see yourself. You are the source of wanting. And a knife cannot cut itself, a flame cannot burn itself. You cannot grasp what you are, and in that mystery something else stirs. What I want is what you want, and I don't know what you want. Surprise me. That's the link. That's the kinship between I and thou. Everything is falling apart. Not just you, not just your plans. Everything. We are in constant dissolution. Every structure, every hope, every tower. The world men set their hearts upon turns to ash, or if it prospers, it vanishes like snow upon desert sand. All of it fades, the cloud-capped towers, the gorgeous palaces, the great globe itself will dissolve. And like an insubstantial pageant, leave not a rack behind. You see, this isn't something to fear, it's liberation. You don't have to let go, because there is nothing to hold. Nature is already letting go for you, and that, curiously, is the great helper. When you stop resisting the inevitable, when you stop pretending permanence exists, you stop struggling, you stop grasping, and then something else shows up, a power you didn't create, an energy that isn't yours, yet flows through you. It had been hidden behind your efforts to control, but now it's free, and so are you. Anytime you let go of control, truly let go, you find a curious thing. You begin to have access to power, but not the kind of power that comes from force, not the kind that manipulates or resists. This is something altogether different. It is energy that arises when you are no longer wasting yourself on self-defense, when you are no longer holding up the illusion of control. Most people are constantly trying to manage things, trying to push the world around, to bend it to their will. And that takes effort, constant strain. It burns energy. But the moment you stop trying to act like you are God, the moment you begin to trust that the world moves on its own, something shifts. The energy that was tied up in fear and resistance becomes available. You have not added anything new. You have simply stopped holding it back. This is why the principle is always the same. The more you give it away, the more it comes back. Not because of some moral law, but because that is how things work. That is the rhythm. The energy that flows in that way is not yours. And yet, it moves through you completely. What we have been talking about is not a belief system. It is not a set of doctrines or dogmas. It is something much closer to an experience. It is not what you think, but what you feel in your bones. Now, this is very different from the emphasis of Western religion. The Western tradition, especially Christianity, has placed enormous weight on belief. Do you believe the right things? Do you hold the correct views? Faith, they say, is what saves you. Not action, not understanding, but faith in the proper doctrines. And early on, the Christian church rejected another kind of path, the path of knowing, what was called gnosis. Not belief, but knowledge gained through direct experience. The Gnostics said there were three kinds of people: the spiritual, the psychological, and the wooden. And the wooden were those most entangled in materiality, those who identified completely with the body. Orthodox Christianity rejected this idea, and perhaps for good reason, because matter is not the enemy of spirit. In the center of the Christian mystery is incarnation, that God became flesh, that the divine entered matter. But somewhere along the way, that insight was lost, and belief took its place. There was a strange monk once, writing under the name Dionysius the Areopagite. He taught something very different from the usual theology. He spoke of knowing God not through definitions, but through unknowing, through a kind of dark knowledge, a cloud of forgetting, a cloud of unknowing. This is not ignorance. It is not confusion. It is the deep intuition that whatever you say about the divine, it is not quite that. If you call it love, you miss. If you call it unity, you miss again. Every word falls short. In one of his small writings, the Theologia Mystica, Dionysius moves through a series of negations. God is not spirit, not mind, not justice, not light, not even one. He says that if anyone, having seen God, understood what they had seen, then what they saw was not God. It was something less. Some creature, perhaps an angel, but not the source. And here he was echoing something much older, something you also find in the Upanishads. The idea that the highest truth is not what can be spoken, but what remains when all speaking stops. When you know that you do not know, that is when you begin to understand. So in the end, to not know is to be open. To let go is not a loss. It is a return. You fall into the rhythm of things. You stop struggling against the current. You begin to trust what you do not understand. And then the universe begins to move with you. Not because you've figured it out, not because you've mastered some technique, but because you've stopped pretending to be separate. You've stopped trying to possess life, and instead you let life pass through you. The energy that comes when you give up control is not yours. It is not personal, but it is generous. It is full. It comes when you no longer need it. And that is the final mystery. The universe will give you what you want, but only when you no longer clutch at it. Only when you stop trying to force it to answer your will. It responds to trust. It answers presence. When you truly do not know, when you no longer grasp, the world opens itself to you, and in that moment you are not a stranger in the cosmos. You are home.